The headlights cut through the darkness like knives. Ray's hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as something pale flickered in the dust ahead. He slammed the brakes. Gravel screamed under the tires. A body, small, motionless. He killed the engine and stumbled out, boots crunching against the desert floor. The air tasted like copper and heat. His flashlight beam swept across her face. A girl, maybe 17, lips cracked and bleeding, eyes half open. "Hey," Ray whispered, dropping to his knees. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her fingers twitched. Then her mouth moved, barely a sound. "Please, don't call the police." Ray froze. His breath caught in his throat. The words didn't make sense. She was dying out here, miles from anything, and she feared the law more than death itself. He pulled off his flannel, wrapped it around her trembling shoulders. Her skin burned like fever. "What's your name?" "Tasia." Her voice cracked. "Tasia Monroe. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is." Ray glanced at the empty highway behind him. No cars, no witnesses, just the two of them and a sky full of stars that didn't care. "I'm gonna get you some water, all right? Don't move." He rushed back to the truck, grabbed a bottle from the passenger seat. When he returned, she'd pulled herself into a sitting position, arms wrapped around her knees. She looked smaller now, breakable. "How long you been out here?" Ray asked, unscrewing the cap. 2 days. Maybe 3. She drank like someone drowning, water spilling down her chin. "I ran. From the ranch." "What ranch?" Her eyes darted toward the horizon, towards something Ray couldn't see. "Earl Dunbar's place. The Foster Ranch." She said the words like they were poison. Ray's jaw tightened. He knew that name. Everyone in town knew Earl Dunbar. Businessman, philanthropist, the man who gave speeches at church about saving troubled kids. The man with the mayor's phone number and the sheriff's loyalty. "Earl Dunbar runs a foster home." Ray said slowly. "That's what they call it." Tasia's laugh was bitter, hollow. "But it's not a home. It's a prison. He works us like animals. 18-hour days in his warehouses, his farms. If you complain, you get locked in the cellar. If you try to run." She stopped. Her hands shook so hard she dropped the water bottle. "If you run," she continued, voice barely above a whisper, "the deputies bring you back. And then Earl makes sure you never try again." Ray felt something cold crawl up his spine. He'd heard stories before, rumors about Earl's operation, whispers at the diner. But rumors were easy to ignore. The girl in front of him, covered in bruises and dust, was not. "You reported this?" Ray asked. "To someone. I tried." Her eyes filled with tears. "I called the county office. They laughed, said I was lying for attention. Then I ran again last week. 2 deputies caught me at the gas station." She touched her wrist, where a purple bruise wrapped around like a bracelet. "They didn't arrest me. They just drove me back. Told Earl I'd been acting up." Ray's chest tightened. He knew that feeling. The weight of a system that didn't listen, that protected the powerful and crushed everyone else. He'd lived it 10 years ago when his wife died from a hospital's mistake, when he sued and lost and learned that justice was just a word people said to make themselves feel better. "Why didn't you call the police from the ranch?" Ray asked. Tasia looked at him like he'd just said something stupid. "Because the deputies are Earl's friends. Half the sheriff's department gets paid by him. You think they're gonna arrest their own meal ticket?" Ray stood up, paced toward the truck, then back. His mind raced. If he took her to the hospital, they'd call the police. If he called the police, they'd call Earl. If he did nothing. He looked at Tasia again, at the fear carved into her face, at the way she kept glancing at the road like demons might appear any second. "You got anywhere to go?" Ray asked. She shook her head. "Family. Dead." Ray rubbed his face, felt the stubble scrape against his palm. He was too old for this. Too tired. Too broken. But something in him, some dying ember he thought had burned out years ago, refused to let him walk away. "All right," he said. "You're coming with me." Tasia blinked. "What?" "My place. It's not much, but it's off the grid. No one's gonna find you there." He extended his hand. "But we gotta move. Now." She stared at his hand like it might disappear. Then she took it. Ray pulled her to her feet, guided her toward the truck. She limped, her left ankle swollen, probably sprained. He helped her into the passenger seat, slammed the door, and climbed behind the wheel. As the engine roared to life, Tasia spoke again. "Why are you helping me?" Ray didn't answer right away. He shifted into drive, pulled back onto the highway, and watched the desert swallow the place where he'd found her. Because no kid should have to prove they're worth saving, he finally said. Tasia nodded, then turned toward the window. Her reflection stared back at her in the glass. A ghost of a girl who'd been running so long she'd forgotten what safety felt like. But as the truck rumbled through the night, something gnawed at Ray's gut. A question he couldn't shake. If Earl Dunbar was as connected as Tasia claimed, how long before someone noticed she was missing? How long before they came looking? And when they did, what would they do to the old man who'd taken her in? He glanced at the rearview mirror. The highway stretched empty behind them. But somewhere in that darkness, Ray knew the clock had started ticking. 3 months earlier, Ray had watched the sun rise over the same stretch of desert, holding a coffee mug with a crack down the side. That morning, he'd thought about driving his truck into the canyon. Just letting gravity do what grief couldn't. He didn't, but the thought stayed. Now, as Tasia slept in the passenger seat, Ray's mind dragged him back to the moment that destroyed him. The hospital, the fluorescent lights, the doctor who'd looked at his clipboard instead of Ray's face when he said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Cole." There was a clerical error with her medication dosage. Clerical error. 2 words that killed the woman he'd loved for 23 years. Ray sued, spent his savings on lawyers who wore expensive suits, and made promises they never kept. The hospital had better lawyers. The judge ruled in their favor. Case dismissed. No accountability. No justice. Just a widower with an empty house and a fury that had nowhere to go. So he'd sold the house, bought a beat-up trailer, and moved to the desert's edge where the only voices were coyotes and wind. The truck hit a pothole. Tasia jerked awake, eyes wide, breath sharp. "It's okay," Ray said. "Just a bump." She exhaled slowly, pressed her forehead against the window. "Where are we?" "Almost there." The trailer appeared 20 minutes later, a silver shell baking under the moon, surrounded by nothing but sand and scrub brush. Ray parked, killed the engine. Silence swallowed them whole. Inside, the trailer smelled like old coffee and propane. Ray flicked on a lamp. Yellow light filled the cramped space. A kitchenette, a fold-out couch, a table covered in index cards with Bible verses written in shaky handwriting. Tasia stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. "You live here alone?" "Yeah. By choice." Ray didn't answer. He grabbed a blanket from the closet, tossed it onto the couch. "You can sleep there. Bathroom's in the back. There's canned soup in the cabinet if you're hungry." Tasia nodded but didn't move. She stared at the index cards scattered across the table. "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted," she read aloud. Psalm 34 verse 18. Ray turned away. "Just something I do." "You believe it?" He paused. "I'm trying to." Tasia sat down on the couch, pulled the blanket over her legs. For the first time since Ray found her, she looked like what she was, a kid who'd been running too long. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not leaving me out there." Ray nodded, grabbed his own blanket, and settled into the chair across from her. He didn't sleep. He just watched the window, waiting for headlights that never came. But morning brought something worse. Ray woke to the sound of gravel crunching outside. He shot upright, heart hammering. Tasia was already awake, eyes locked on the door. "Someone's here," she breathed. Ray moved to the window, pulled the curtain back an inch. 2 patrol cars sat in the dirt, engines idling. 4 deputies stood near the trailer's entrance, hands resting on their belts. "Stay quiet," Ray whispered. A knock rattled the door. "Ray Cole? This is Deputy Marcus Webb." "Open up." Ray's stomach dropped. He glanced at Tasia, who'd gone pale as a corpse. "The closet," he mouthed. "Now." She scrambled across the floor, disappeared into the narrow space behind the coats. Ray shut the door, took a breath, and opened the trailer entrance. Deputy Webb stood on the steps, tall, broad-shouldered, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Morning, Ray. Mind if we come in?" "What's this about?" "Just a wellness check. Got a call from a concerned citizen saying you picked up a hitchhiker last night. Thought we'd make sure everything's all right." Ray's jaw tightened. "I didn't pick up anyone." Webb's smile widened. "That's so? Mind if we take a look around?" "You got a warrant?" "Don't need one if you've got nothing to hide." Ray stepped aside. The deputies filed in, boots heavy against the linoleum. They moved through the trailer like they owned it, opening cabinets, checking under the couch. Webb lingered near the closet, hand on the doorknob. "Lot of Bible verses you got here, Ray," Webb said, picking up an index card. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. You hungry for something, old man? Just trying to live quiet. Webb dropped the card, turned toward Ray. Here's the thing. Earl Dunbar had a girl run off from his ranch a few days ago. Troublemaker type. We're just making sure she didn't stumble into the wrong hands. Ray kept his face blank. Haven't seen any girls. Webb studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, but if you do, you'll call us, right? We're just trying to keep everyone safe. Sure. The deputies filed out. Webb paused at the door, looked back. One more thing, Ray. Earl's a good man. Does a lot for this town. Wouldn't want anyone spreading rumors that might hurt his reputation. You understand. Ray said nothing. Webb's smile finally died. Stay out of trouble. The patrol cars pulled away, tires kicking up dust. Ray stood in the doorway, watching them disappear. His hands trembled. When the sound of engines faded, Tasia emerged from the closet, face streaked with tears. They're gonna kill me, she whispered. If they find me, they're gonna kill me. Ray closed the door, locked it. No one's killing anyone. You don't get it. Earl owns this town. The deputies, the mayor, the judges, everyone. If you try to help me, they'll bury you too. Ray sat down at the table, picked up one of the index cards. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, he read again. Then he looked at Tasia. I've been buried before. Didn't take. Tasia wiped her eyes. What are you saying? Ray grabbed a pen, pulled a notebook from the drawer. I'm saying we're going to do this right. You're going to tell me everything. Names, dates, places. Every detail you remember about Earl's operation. And then we're going to find someone who'll listen. No one's going to listen. Then we'll make them. Tasia stared at him. For the first time since he'd found her, something like hope flickered in her eyes. Why? Why risk everything for me? Ray didn't have a good answer. Maybe it was because she reminded him of the daughter he and his wife never had. Maybe it was because he'd spent 10 years running from his own ghosts and was tired of being afraid. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe he was just done watching the world crush people who couldn't fight back. Because someone should have fought for my wife, Ray said quietly. And no one did. Tasia nodded. Then she sat down across from him and began to talk. She talked for hours. About Earl's ranch, about the other kids trapped there, about the deputies who turned a blind eye and the social workers who doctored reports. She talked about the night she tried to call for help and Earl caught her, about the cellar where he locked her for 3 days without food. Ray wrote it all down. Every word, every name, every crime. And when the sun set again, casting long shadows across the desert floor, Ray realized something that made his blood run cold. This wasn't just about one corrupt man. It was bigger than that, deeper than that. It was a machine designed to chew up the vulnerable and spit them out. And if Ray was going to stop it, he'd need more than just Tasia's testimony. The Arizona sun climbed over the horizon, bleeding orange and red across the sand. Ray sat on the trailer's front steps, cradling a mug of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. His back ached from the chair he'd spent the night in. Inside, Tasia was still asleep on the couch, curled under the blanket like a child hiding from monsters. Ray took a sip of the coffee, grimaced, and dumped the rest into the dirt. The liquid vanished instantly, swallowed by the thirsty earth. Everything out here disappeared eventually. Memories, hope, people. His wife's face flickered through his mind, laughing at some joke he couldn't remember, flour on her nose from baking bread, the way she'd hum while folding laundry. Then the hospital bed, the machine's beeping, her hand going limp in his. He'd begged the doctor to do something, anything, but the man just kept apologizing, kept saying it was a mistake, kept acting like sorry could bring her back. Ray had wanted to scream, to flip the machines over, to grab the doctor by his white coat and make him feel even a fraction of the pain tearing through Ray's chest. But he didn't. He just stood there, frozen, while the world ended in a sterile room that smelled like antiseptic and death. The funeral was worse. People showed up with casseroles and platitudes. She's in a better place now. God needed another angel. Time heals all wounds. Lies. All of it. Ray sold the house 3 months later. Couldn't stand the way the walls remembered her, the indent on her side of the mattress, the shampoo bottle still in the shower, the half-finished crossword puzzle on the kitchen counter. He bought the trailer with what was left after the legal fees, drove into the desert until the road ran out, parked under a sky so big it made him feel like nothing. And that's where he'd been ever since, waiting for something, Death, peace, forgiveness, he wasn't sure which. The sound of the trailer door creaking open pulled Ray from the memory. Tasia stepped out, squinting against the sunlight. Her hair stuck up in odd angles. The bruise on her wrist had turned a deeper shade of purple overnight. "Morning," she said, voice hoarse. "Morning." She sat down beside him, pulled her knees to her chest. For a while, neither of them spoke. Just listened to the wind scraping across the desert floor. "You got any family?" Tasia finally asked. "Not anymore. Friends. Wouldn't call them that." Tasia picked at a thread on her jeans. "What happened? To your wife, I mean. If you don't mind me asking." Ray stared at the horizon. The sun was higher now, turning the sand into molten gold. "Hospital gave her the wrong medication. Killed her in 6 hours. I sued. Lost. End of story." "That's not fair." Ray laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "Fair's got nothing to do with it. The world doesn't run on fair. It runs on who's got the money and who's got the power. Everyone else is just." He trailed off. "Just what?" "Just collateral damage." Tasia rested her chin on her knees. "Is that why you're helping me? Because you couldn't help her?" Ray didn't answer right away. He thought about the question, about the truth behind it. "Maybe," he finally said. "Or maybe I'm just tired of standing on the sidelines while people get crushed." Tasia nodded. "Earl used to say something like that. He'd tell us we were lucky, that he was saving us from the streets, from bad homes, from ourselves. Made it sound like we should be grateful for the work, for the cellar, for everything." "You believe him?" "At first, yeah. I was 12 when they placed me there. Didn't know any better. But after a while, you start to see the cracks. The way he'd smile when he locked the cellar door. The way the deputies would laugh when they brought runaways back. The way no one ever asked if we were okay." Ray's jaw tightened. "How many kids are still there?" "Last I counted, 14. Ages 10 to 17. All of them trapped. All of them too scared to run." Ray stood up, paced to the edge of the steps. "We need proof. More than just your word. Something that'll make people listen." "Like what?" "I don't know yet. But we'll figure it out." Tasia looked up at him, eyes searching his face. "You really think we can stop him?" Ray wanted to say yes. Wanted to promise her justice and safety and all the things she deserved. But he'd learned the hard way that promises meant nothing without power. "I think we can try," he said instead. A car engine rumbled in the distance. Both of them tensed. Ray moved to the edge of the trailer, shielded his eyes from the sun. A black pickup truck crawled down the dirt road toward them, kicking up a plume of dust. "That's not the police," Tasia whispered. "No," Ray agreed. "It's not." The truck stopped 30 feet away. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, mid-50s, gray hair slicked back, wearing a suit that didn't belong in the desert. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile predators wore. "Raymond Cole," the man called out. Ray said nothing. The man walked closer, hands in his pockets. "My name's Earl Dunbar. I believe you've met one of my kids." Tasia's breath hitched. She grabbed Ray's arm, nails digging into his skin. Earl stopped a few feet from the steps, still smiling. "Now, I'm not here to cause trouble, Ray. I'm just here to bring Tasia home. She's sick, you see. Confused. Tells stories that aren't true. But we can help her. We've got doctors, counselors, everything she needs." "She doesn't want to go back," Ray said. Earl's smile faded. "That's not really your decision to make, is it? See, Tasia's a ward of the state. Legally, she belongs under my care. And taking her without permission? Well, that's called kidnapping." Ray felt his pulse quicken. "I didn't take her. I found her half dead in the desert. And I appreciate that. Really, I do. But now it's time to let the professionals handle it." Earl extended his hand toward Tasia. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home." Tasia didn't move. Her whole body shook. Ray stepped between them. "She's not going anywhere with you." Earl's eyes went cold. The smile vanished completely. "You don't know what you're doing, old man. You're playing a game you can't win." "Maybe, but I'm playing it anyway." Earl stared at him for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, dialed a number. "Sheriff? Yeah, it's Earl. I'm at Raymond Cole's place. He's got my girl and won't release her. Might need some backup." He hung up, slipped the phone back into his pocket. "You've got about 10 minutes before this becomes a legal problem." Ray's mind raced. If the sheriff showed up, they'd take Tasia by force. They'd make sure Ray never interfered again. And everything she'd told him, all the proof they'd started gathering, would disappear. He needed time. He needed a plan. But most of all, He needed someone who could fight back against the machine Earl had built. Get inside, Ray told Tasia. But now, she hesitated, then ran back into the trailer. Ray faced Earl again. You're not taking her. Earl laughed. You really think you can stop me? You're nobody, Ray. A washed-up construction worker living in a tin can. I've got the sheriff, the mayor, half the county on my side. What VE you got? Ray didn't answer. Because Earl was right. He had nothing. No power. No connections. No way to fight a man who'd built an empire on the backs of forgotten kids. But as the sound of sirens grew louder in the distance, Ray realized something. He didn't need power. He just needed someone willing to listen to the truth. And he knew exactly who to call. Ray grabbed the trailer door handle. Tasia, listen to me. But she was already moving. She'd climbed through the back window, dropped into the sand behind the trailer. Ray's heart lurched. She was running again. Tasia, he shouted. Earl turned, spotted her fleeing form. Stop her. The sheriff's cruiser skidded to a halt. Two deputies jumped out, boots pounding dirt. They sprinted after Tasia, arms pumping. She was fast. Fear made her fast, but the deputies were faster. Ray didn't think. He just moved. He lunged off the steps, intercepted the closest deputy with his shoulder. The man stumbled, cursed, swung an elbow that connected with Ray's jaw. Pain exploded through his face. He tasted blood. Ray, don't. Earl barked. You're making this worse. The second deputy tackled Tasia 20 yards out. She hit the ground hard, screamed, clawed at the sand. The deputy wrenched her arms behind her back, snapped handcuffs around her wrists. Let her go, Ray roared. The first deputy slammed Ray face first into the trailer's side. Metal crunched against his cheekbone. His vision blurred. Hands yanked his arms back. Cold steel bit into his wrists. You're under arrest for obstruction and harboring a minor, the deputy growled in his ear. Ray's legs buckled. They dragged him toward the cruiser. Through the haze of pain, he saw Tasia thrashing in the other deputy's grip, saw Earl walking toward her with that same cold smile. It's okay, sweetheart, Earl was saying. We'll get you the help you need. No, Tasia screamed. He's lying. He's lying. But no one listened. They never did. The deputy shoved Ray into the back of the cruiser. The door slammed. Through the window, Ray watched Earl place a hand on Tasia's shoulder. She flinched like he'd struck her. Ray's mind spun. He needed to think. Needed a plan. But all he could see was Tasia's terrified face. All he could hear was his wife's last breath in that hospital room. All he could feel was the weight of every failure crushing him into dust. The cruiser pulled away. Ray twisted in his seat, watched the trailer shrink into the distance. Watched Earl load Tasia into his truck. Watched the desert swallow them whole. They took Ray to the county jail. Fingerprints. Mugshot. A cell that smelled like sweat and desperation. The deputy who'd arrested him leaned against the bars, smirking. You know what happens to old men who mess with Earl Dunbar's business? The deputy said. They disappear. And nobody asks questions. Ray sat on the metal bench, head in his hands. She's 17. She's scared. And you're handing her back to the man who's been abusing her. The deputy laughed. That what she told you? Kid's a pathological liar. Always has been. You got played, old man. I saw the bruises. Yeah? Kids get bruises. Doesn't mean anything. The deputy turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Ray, your bail hearing's on Monday. That's 3 days from now. Plenty of time for Earl to clean up this mess. The door clanged shut. Ray was alone. He lay down on the bench, stared at the ceiling. Water stains spread across the concrete like maps of nowhere. His jaw throbbed. His wrists ached from the cuffs. But worse than the physical pain was the knowledge that he'd failed. Tasia was back at the ranch, back in Earl's control. And Ray was locked in a cage, powerless to do anything about it. Hours passed. Day turned to night. A guard brought food, gray meat, soggy bread, coffee that tasted like rust. Ray didn't touch it. He thought about his wife, about the way she'd believed in justice, in fairness, in the idea that good people could make a difference. She'd been wrong. He'd learned that the hard way. And now, lying in a jail cell while a 17-year-old girl suffered, he was learning it all over again. Around midnight, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Ray didn't bother sitting up. Probably just another guard checking cells. But then a voice cut through the darkness. Raymond Cole. Ray opened his eyes. A woman stood outside his cell, late 50s, sharp eyes, wearing a leather jacket and carrying a notebook. She looked familiar, but Ray couldn't place her. "Who's asking?" he said. "Leona Briggs, investigative journalist. I covered your malpractice case 10 years ago." Ray sat up slowly. He remembered now. She'd been the only reporter who'd treated his wife's death like it mattered, who'd written articles about hospital negligence and corporate immunity. But when the case fell apart, she'd moved on to other stories. Everyone did. "What do you want?" Ray asked. Leona pulled a chair closer to the bars, sat down. "I heard you got arrested for harboring a runaway from Earl Dunbar's ranch. That true? What's it to you?" "Because Earl Dunbar's been on my radar for years. I've heard rumors. Kids working illegal hours, reports getting buried, officials looking the other way. But every time I dig, I hit walls. Witnesses disappear. Records vanish. It's like he's got the whole county in his pocket." Ray leaned forward. "He does." Leona's eyes sharpened. "Tell me everything." So Ray did. He told her about finding Tasia in the desert, about the bruises and the fear and the story she'd shared. He told her about the deputies showing up, about Earl's threats, about the way the system bent itself around protecting one man while crushing everyone else. Leona wrote furiously in her notebook. When Ray finished, she looked up. "This girl, Tasia, she's still at the ranch. Far as I know. And you're willing to go on record? Testify." Ray laughed bitterly. "I'm sitting in a jail cell. Who's gonna believe me? Doesn't matter if they believe you. What matters is the paper trail. If I can connect the dots, prove Earl's operation is trafficking minors under the guise of foster care, then the feds will have to step in. The feds don't care about foster kids. Maybe not, but they care about fraud. And if Earl's billing the state for services he's not providing, that's federal money. That's a crime they can't ignore." Ray studied her face. She looked tired, worn down by too many lost battles. But there was something else there too, a stubborn fire that refused to go out. It reminded him of his wife. "Why are you doing this?" Ray asked. Leona closed her notebook. "Because someone has to. And because I'm tired of watching powerful men get away with destroying lives." Ray felt something shift in his chest. Not hope. He didn't trust hope anymore, but something adjacent to it. Possibility, maybe. Or just the refusal to give up. "What do you need from me?" he asked. "Everything Tasia told you. Names, dates, details. And if you've got any proof, recordings, photos, anything, I need that too." Ray's mind went to the notebook in his trailer. The pages filled with Tasia's testimony. The names of deputies and officials who'd turned a blind eye. It wasn't much, but it was a start. "It's in my trailer," Ray said. "But the cops probably already searched it. Then we'll get it before they destroy it." Leona stood up, tucked the notebook under her arm. "I'm gonna make some calls. Get you out of here. And then we're gonna burn Earl Dunbar's empire to the ground. He's got the sheriff, the mayor, half the county." Leona smiled. "A sharp, dangerous thing. Then we'll go over their heads." She walked toward the door, then stopped. "Ray? That girl, Tasia, she's lucky you found her. I didn't do anything. You listened. That's more than most people do." Leona left. The door clanged shut. Ray lay back down on the bench. For the first time in 10 years, he didn't feel completely alone. But somewhere across town, in a ranch surrounded by barbed wire and silence, Tasia Monroe sat in a locked room, staring at a wall, wondering if the old man who tried to save her was already dead, wondering if anyone would ever come for her again. And as the night pressed down like a fist, she made herself a promise. If she survived this, she'd make sure Earl Dunbar's name became a warning instead of a lie. The ranch sat like a scar on the desert's face. Barbed wire fences, rusted gates, a main house that looked normal from the road but held nightmares behind its walls. Tasia pressed her face against the window of the locked room. Her wrists ached from the zip ties Earl had used instead of handcuffs. Her ankle throbbed from where the deputy had tackled her. But worse than the physical pain was the sinking certainty that no one was coming. Ray was in jail. The police didn't care. And Earl had already made it clear what happened to girls who ran. The door opened. Tasia spun around, heart hammering. A woman entered, mid-30s, thin, with tired eyes and a county badge clipped to her belt. Her name was Sharon Hayes, social worker, the person who was supposed to protect kids like Tasia. But Sharon worked for Earl now. Everyone did. "You okay, honey?" Sharon's voice dripped fake concern. Tasia didn't answer. Sharon sighed, closed the door. "Look, I know you're upset. But running away like that? Lying to strangers? You could have gotten hurt. I did get hurt. Earl hurt me." Sharon's expression didn't change. Mr. Dunbar is trying to help you. All these kids. But you keep making it difficult. He locks us in the cellar. That's for your own safety. When you act out, you need time to calm down. But as the headlights closed in and the sound of Earl's voice echoed across the desert, "Find her. Find her now." Tasia realized something that made her blood run cold. She wasn't just running from Earl anymore. She was running from the secret he'd killed to protect. The secret about her mother. The secret that connected Earl's ranch to something far bigger than foster care fraud. And if Earl caught her before she reached Ray, the truth would die with her. The truck's headlights ate up the distance between them. Tasia's lungs felt like shredded paper. Her ankle gave out. She hit the ground hard, sand filling her mouth. The engine growled closer. Boots crunched gravel. Earl's voice cut through the darkness. "Stupid girl. You really thought you could outrun me." Tasia rolled onto her back, chest heaving. Earl stood over her, blocking out the stars. Behind him, Deputy Webb emerged from the truck, grinning. "Get her up," Earl said. Webb grabbed Tasia's arm, yanked her to her feet. Pain shot through her shoulder. She bit back a scream. "Where are the others?" Earl demanded. Tasia said nothing. Earl's fist connected with her stomach. She doubled over, gasping. Webb held her upright. "I asked you a question," Earl said quietly. That calm tone was worse than shouting. "Marcus, Destiny, Jerome, where'd they go?" "I don't know." Another hit. This time her ribs. Something cracked. The world tilted sideways. "Last chance," Earl said. "Tell me where they're heading, or I start breaking bones." Through the haze of pain, Tasia saw headlights in the distance. Different direction. Moving fast. Not Earl's men. Earl saw them too. His expression hardened. "Get her in the truck. Now." Webb dragged Tasia toward the vehicle. She struggled, kicked, fought with everything left in her. It wasn't enough. The other headlights grew brighter. A voice boomed through a megaphone. "This is the FBI. Release the girl and step away from the vehicle." Earl froze. Webb's grip loosened for just a second. Tasia wrenched free, stumbled backward. Federal vehicles surrounded them, 3 SUVs forming a triangle. Agents poured out, weapons drawn. A woman stepped forward. Late 40s, black, wearing a windbreaker with FBI across the back. "Earl Dunbar, you're under arrest for human trafficking, fraud, and conspiracy." Earl's face went white, then red. "You've got no jurisdiction here. This is county business. Federal funding makes it federal business." The agent nodded toward Webb. "Deputy, put your weapon on the ground. You're under arrest too." Webb's hand moved toward his gun. 5 agents trained their sights on him. He froze, then slowly placed the weapon in the dirt. Tasia's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the sand, shaking. An agent rushed over, wrapped a thermal blanket around her shoulders. "You're safe now," the agent said. "We've got you." Safe. The word felt foreign in Tasia's mouth. She'd spent so long running, so long afraid, that safety seemed like something that happened to other people. Earl was on the ground now, hands cuffed behind his back. He twisted his head toward Tasia, eyes burning with rage. "This isn't over. You hear me? This isn't over." The lead agent hauled him to his feet. "Yeah, it is." They loaded Earl and Webb into separate vehicles. The agent who'd given Tasia the blanket helped her stand. "Can you walk?" "I think so." "Good. We need to get you to a hospital. Then we'll need your statement about everything that happened at that ranch." Tasia nodded. "Ray Cole, the man who found me. He's in jail because of Earl. You have to help him." The agent smiled. "Already done. Judge threw out the charges an hour ago. He's probably home by now." Relief crashed over Tasia like a wave. Ray was free. The nightmare was ending. But as they drove her toward the waiting ambulance, Tasia remembered Earl's threat about her mother, about the transfers, about the kids who'd disappeared. She grabbed the agent's arm. "There's more. Earl didn't just abuse us. He killed someone. My mother. 7 years ago." The agent's expression sharpened. "Tell me everything." Tasia did. About Angela Monroe. About the lawsuit. About the newspaper clipping and the timing of her mother's disappearance. About Janelle and the tarp-wrapped shape loaded into a truck. The agent pulled out her phone, started making calls. Within minutes, cadaver dogs were being dispatched to the ranch. Search warrants issued. Earl's entire operation being torn apart brick by brick. Dawn broke over the desert. Pink and gold light spilled across the sand. Tasia sat in the back of the ambulance, watching federal agents swarm Earl's property like ants claiming a corpse. Marcus, Destiny, and Jerome had been found safe, picked up by Highway Patrol near Route 9. The other 11 kids at the ranch were being transported to emergency foster care, Real foster care this time, with oversight and protection. A car pulled up. Ray climbed out, moving stiff but determined. When he saw Tasia, his whole face changed. Relief, joy, something like hope. He walked over, slow and careful, like she might vanish if he moved too fast. "You okay?" Tasia nodded. Then the tears came. All at once. Everything she'd held back for 5 years poured out. Ray sat beside her, didn't say anything. Just sat there while she cried. Sometimes that's all anyone needed. Someone willing to witness the pain without trying to fix it. When the tears finally stopped, Tasia wiped her face with the blanket. "They're searching for my mother's body. And the others." "I know," Ray said quietly. "Leona told me. She's the one who brought the FBI in. Had enough evidence to trigger a federal investigation." "Where is she?" "Inside the ranch, documenting everything for her story." Ray looked at his hands. "This is going to be big. National news." Earl's connections go deeper than we thought. State senators, judges, all taking money to look the other way. Tasia felt sick. How many kids? Don't know yet. Could be dozens. Could be more. Ray met her eyes. "But because you ran, because you told the truth, it's over. All of it." The paramedic approached, medical kit in hand. "Miss Monroe, we need to examine you now." Tasia stood up. Before she walked away, she looked back at Ray. "Thank you for not leaving me in the desert." Ray's voice cracked. "Thank you for giving me a reason to care again." She climbed into the ambulance. As it pulled away, she watched Ray grow smaller in the window. The old man who'd lost everything, but somehow found enough left inside to save someone else. The desert stretched endless behind them. But ahead, the highway led towards something Tasia hadn't felt in 7 years. A future. And as the sun climbed higher, burning away the shadows that had held her captive for so long, Tasia Monroe made herself a new promise. She'd survived. She'd fought. And now she'd make sure no one ever forgot what happened at Earl Dunbar's ranch. But in a hospital room 300 miles away, a woman with graying hair and haunted eyes watched the morning news. The reporter's voice filled the sterile room. "Breaking news in the Earl Dunbar case. Authorities have discovered human remains on the property. Investigators believe they may have found Angela Monroe, the civil rights attorney who disappeared 7 years ago." The woman's hand flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. Because Angela Monroe wasn't dead. She'd been hiding, running, protecting the daughter she'd been forced to leave behind. And now, watching Tasia's face flash across the screen, alive, safe, brave, Angela knew exactly what she had to do next. Ray's trailer felt different now. Same metal walls, same cramped space. But the weight that had pressed down on him for 10 years had lifted. He sat at the table, notebook open, watching Leona type furiously on her laptop. "This is Pulitzer material," Leona said without looking up. Earl's network stretched across 4 states. Foster care fraud, labor trafficking, money laundering. And the official who approved his contracts? Senator Mitchell. Ray's coffee went cold in his hands. The same Mitchell who's running for governor? The very same. Leona's smile was sharp as broken glass. His campaign's about to implode. A knock rattled the door. Ray tensed. Old habits died hard. Leona stood, opened it. Tasia walked in, moving carefully. Her ribs were taped. Her wrists splinted. But her eyes burned with something Ray recognized. Purpose. "They found bodies," Tasia said. No preamble. No softness. Just the raw truth. 4 of them. Buried near the barn. Dental records confirmed one was Janelle Thompson. The others are still being identified. Ray's stomach turned. "Your mother?" "Not there." Tasia sat down, winced. Which means she could still be alive. Or they moved her. Or she trailed off. Leona closed her laptop. "The FBI's following every lead. If Angela's alive, they'll find her. And if she's not." Nobody answered that. The door opened again. This time, the lead FBI agent walked in. Agent Keisha Wright. She carried a manila folder thick with documents. "We need Tasia's formal testimony," Wright said. "Everything she witnessed at the ranch. Names, dates, incidents. It's going to be a long process." Tasia straightened her spine. "I'm ready. It won't be easy. Earl's lawyers are already building a defense. They'll tear apart your credibility. Claim you're troubled, unreliable, making things up for attention. Let them try, Tasia said. I've got 14 other kids who'll back up every word. Plus whatever evidence you found in Earl's files. Wright smiled. Actually, we found something interesting. Earl kept meticulous records. Ledgers documenting every dollar he collected from the state. Hours each kid worked. Profits from their labor. He documented his own crimes because he never thought anyone would see them. Ray leaned forward. Can you use that in court? Already sent it to the prosecutor. Combined with the bodies, the witness testimony, and the financial trail, Earl's looking at life without parole. So is Webb. So are the county officials who enabled this. Tasia's hands shook. She pressed them flat against the table. Good. Wright pulled out a photograph, slid it across to Tasia. We also found this in Earl's safe. Recognize her. Tasia picked up the photo. Her breath caught. That's my mother. But this picture's recent. Her hair's different. She's older. Exactly, Wright said. That photo was taken 6 months ago, which means Angela Monroe was alive as of last spring. The room went silent. Ray watched hope and fear war across Tasia's face. Where? Tasia whispered. Where was this taken? We're working on it. The background shows a medical facility. We're running facial recognition through hospital databases across the western states. Tasia stood abruptly, nearly knocked over her chair. You think he kept her locked up somewhere? All these years? We don't know yet, but we're going to find out. Wright stood too. In the meantime, you need to stay somewhere safe. Earl made bail 2 hours ago. Ray shot to his feet. What? Judge set it at $5 million. Earl's lawyer posted it immediately. He's out pending trial. Leona cursed under her breath. He's going to run. We've got surveillance on him. Ankle monitor. Travel restrictions. But until trial, he's a free man. Tasia backed toward the wall. All the color drained from her face. He's coming for me. You know that, right? He's going to kill me before I can testify. That's why we're putting you in protective custody, Wright said. Safe house. Armed guards. Zero contact with the outside world until trial. For how long? 6 months. Maybe more. Tasia looked at Ray. At Leona. At the trailer that had been her sanctuary. I can't hide for 6 months. I won't. It's not hiding, Wright said. It's surviving long enough to put him away forever. No. Tasia's voice went hard. Hiding is what got us here. Silence is what let Earl do this for 20 years. I'm done being quiet. Ray recognized that tone. That same stubborn fire he'd seen in his wife when she fought the hospital's lawyers. The fire that got her nowhere except dead. Tasia, he said carefully, if Earl gets to you, then you make sure my testimony gets released anyway. Record it. Film it. Put it everywhere. She turned to Leona. You wanted a story? I'll give you the whole thing. Every detail. Every name. Everything I know about Earl's operation and who helped him. Leona's eyes gleamed. We could do it as a video documentary. Release it online before trial. Public pressure might force the judge to deny bail next time. Do it, Tasia said. Wright held up a hand. That's dangerous. Earl's people could track the video back to you. Use it to find your location. Good, Tasia said. Let them try. I'm not spending 6 months locked in a room while Earl walks free. If he wants me dead, he'll have to come through all of you first. Ray's chest tightened. This girl, 17 years old, broken ribs, nowhere to go. Stood in his trailer ready to declare war on a man with money, power, and nothing left to lose. She reminded him so much of his wife it hurt. All right, Ray said. We do the interview. But here's the deal. We film it at my place. I stay armed. Leona posted everywhere at once, so Earl can't stop it. And if he shows up, Ray pulled open a drawer, revealed the pistol he'd kept hidden for years. I'll handle it. Wright looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Ray's face stopped her. Fine. But the moment Earl makes a move, you call me. No vigilante justice. We do this by the book. Sure, Ray lied. They spent the next 3 hours setting up. Leona positioned her camera. Wright stationed agents around the trailer's perimeter. Ray made coffee no one drank and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. When everything was ready, Tasia sat in front of the camera. No makeup, no script. Just a 17-year-old girl with bruises on her wrists and truth in her throat. Leona counted down. 3, 2, 1. My name is Tasia Monroe, she began. 7 years ago, my mother disappeared after suing the state for foster care fraud. 3 days later, I was placed at Earl Dunbar's ranch. This is what happened to me there. She talked for 90 minutes straight. About the cellar, the labor, the beatings, the kids who vanished, the officials who looked away. She named names, listed dates, showed her bruises to the camera. When she finished, the room sat in stunned silence. Leona saved the file, started uploading. This goes live in 5 minutes. Once it's out, there's no taking it back. Good, Tasia said. Ray walked to the window, scanned the desert. No movement yet, but he felt it coming. The storm Earl would bring. You should eat something, he told Tasia. Rest while you can. She shook her head. I won't be able to. Not until this is over. The laptop chimed. Leona looked up. It's live. Already got 50,000 views. Ray's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then Earl's voice, cold and precise. You just killed her, old man. I hope you know that. The line went dead. Ray grabbed his gun, chambered around. He's coming. Wright barked orders into her radio. Agents took positions around the trailer. Leona pulled Tasia away from the windows. The sun started setting. Orange light bled across the sand. And somewhere in that dying day, Earl Dunbar was getting ready to do what he'd done to every person who'd ever threatened his empire. Erase them. But this time, he'd underestimated who he was dealing with. Because Ray Cole had spent 10 years waiting to matter again. Tasia Monroe had spent 7 years learning how to survive. And together, they were about to show Earl what happened when broken people stopped running and started fighting back. The video hit 1 million views. 2 million. National news picked it up. Senator Mitchell's office released a statement denying involvement. Earl's lawyer called for the video's removal. But it was too late. The truth was out. And truth, once freed, couldn't be caged again. As darkness claimed the desert, headlights appeared on the horizon. Moving fast. Coming straight for Ray's trailer. Wright's radio crackled. Multiple vehicles approaching. Armed suspects. I repeat, armed suspects inbound. Ray looked at Tasia. Get in the bathroom. Lock the door. Don't come out until I say. She didn't argue. Just moved. Ray checked his gun. 6 rounds. Against how many men? Didn't matter. He'd learned something these past few days. Sometimes the fight wasn't about winning. It was about making sure the other side remembered they'd been in one. The headlights grew closer. Engine roar filled the night. And Ray Cole, the man who'd spent 10 years wanting to die, discovered he very much wanted to live. The first bullet shattered Ray's window. Glass exploded inward. He hit the floor, gun in hand. Outside, truck doors slammed. Boots crunched gravel. Earl's voice cut through the chaos. Bring her out alive. I want to look in her eyes when I finish this. Wright's voice boomed through a megaphone. FBI, drop your weapons. Gunfire erupted. The trailer's metal walls pinged with impacts. Ray crawled toward the bathroom door. Tasia, stay down. I'm okay. Her voice shook but held. An agent shouted. Man down. We need backup. Ray risked a glance through the broken window. 4 trucks formed a semicircle around the trailer. Armed men used them as cover, trading fire with FBI agents. Earl stood behind the farthest truck, watching like this was theater. More shots. The trailer's door burst open. A man rushed in, rifle raised. Ray didn't think. Just fired. The man dropped, screaming, clutching his leg. Federal agent. Wright appeared in the doorway, weapon drawn. Cole, cease fire. He came in shooting. I know, but you can't. Another volley of gunfire cut her off. She ducked back outside. Ray reloaded. 5 rounds left. Not enough. Never enough. The shooting stopped. Sudden silence worse than the noise. Ray's ears rang. Smoke drifted through the broken window. Earl's voice again. Ray Cole, I've got a proposition. Ray said nothing. I've got a helicopter waiting 15 miles from here. Give me the girl, and I disappear. You never see me again. She stays, and everyone in that trailer dies. Wright's voice. Dunbar, you're surrounded. There's no escape. Sure there is. Earl laughed. I've been planning this for months. Had a feeling someone would eventually grow a spine. So here's what happens. Either Tasia walks out in 60 seconds, or I start executing my men one by one. And when the bullets start flying again, you think those agents won't hit that metal box you're hiding in. Crossfire's a nasty thing. Ray's mind raced. Earl was right. The trailer offered 0 protection. 1 stray round, and Tasia was dead. Hell, 1 lucky shot, and they all were. Don't do it. Tasia's voice came from the bathroom. Don't give me to him. Earl counted down. 50 seconds. Wright spoke into her radio. Hostage negotiation protocol. Nobody fires unless I give the order. 40 seconds. Ray stood slowly, moved to the bathroom door. Opened it. Tasia sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. Blood seeped through her shirt from where stitches had torn. I'm not letting him take you, Ray said. He'll kill you if I don't go. Yeah, probably. Ray sat beside her. But here's the thing about dying. Everyone does it eventually. Question is what you die for. Tears streaked Tasia's face. This isn't your fight. Became my fight the second I didn't drive past you in that desert. Ray checked his gun. Besides, I'm tired. Been tired for 10 years. Least this way, I go out meaning something. 30 seconds. Earl's voice grew louder. More eager. Wright appeared in the doorway. Cole, I've got sharpshooters getting into position. Give me 2 minutes, and we can end this. You heard him, Ray said. He starts shooting his own men in 90 seconds. Then he shoots us. So what's your plan? Die here. If that's what it takes. Wright stared at him. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Or just exhaustion with a system that protected men like Earl while grinding everyone else to dust. 20 seconds. Ray stood, helped Tasia to her feet. Stay behind me. Whatever happens, you stay behind me. They moved toward the door. Wright positioned herself at the frame, weapon ready. The wounded man Ray had shot groaned on the floor. Nobody helped him. 10 seconds. 9. 8. Ray stepped outside. Desert wind hit his face. Headlights blazed. He couldn't see past them, but he felt all those guns pointed at his chest. 7. 6. 5. All right, Ray shouted. I'm coming out. Don't shoot. Silence. Then Earl's laugh. Smart man. Bring the girl. Ray walked forward slowly. Hands visible. Gun tucked in his waistband. Tasia pressed against his back, using him as a shield. They reached the midpoint between the trailer and Earl's position. Ray stopped. That's far enough, he said. Earl stepped into the light. He looked different now. Wild. Desperate. The mask of the respectable businessman finally torn away. This was the real Earl Dunbar. The monster who'd built an empire on stolen lives. Give her to me, Earl said. No. I'll kill you where you stand. Then do it. But she's not going anywhere. Earl pulled a pistol from his jacket. Aimed it at Ray's head. Last chance, old man. Ray smiled. After 10 years of wanting death, here it finally was. And he felt nothing but peace. Go ahead. But the second you pull that trigger, those agents put 50 rounds in you. So really, we're just deciding who dies first. Earl's finger tightened on the trigger. A voice cut through the night. Earl Dunbar. Everyone turned. A woman walked out of the darkness beyond the headlights. Late 40s. Gray streaked through her hair. Moving slow but steady. Tasia gasped. Mom. Angela Monroe stopped 10 feet from Earl. She looked thinner than in the photos. Older. But her eyes burned with the same fire her daughter had. It's over, Earl, Angela said. I recorded everything. Every deal you made. Every official you bribed. Every child you hurt. It's all documented. And if anything happens to me or my daughter, it goes straight to the Justice Department. Earl's gun shifted toward Angela. You're supposed to be dead. You tried. Kept me locked in that facility for 7 years. Drugged. Silenced. But you made a mistake. Angela held up a small recording device. You bragged. Told me everything because you thought I'd never leave. But I did. And now everyone knows. Earl's face twisted. You're lying. Am I? Angela pressed play. Earl's voice crackled from the speaker. Angela Monroe was getting too close. Had documents proving I'd been billing the state for services never rendered. So I had her committed. Paid off the doctors. Paid off the judge. Easy to disappear someone when you own the system. The recording continued. Earl's voice detailing murders, bribes, fraud. 7 years of confessions from a man who'd thought his victim would never escape. Earl's hands shook. The gun wavered. Where'd you get that? From the nurse you forgot to pay off. The one who actually gave a damn. Angela took a step forward. It's over. Your empire's done. And every child you hurt is going to watch you burn. Earl's face went blank. Then he smiled. That same cold smile Tasia knew so well. If I'm going down, I'm taking all of you with me. He raised the gun toward Tasia. 3 things happened at once. Ray lunged forward, putting himself between the bullet and the girl. Wright's sharpshooters fired. And Earl pulled the trigger. The world exploded. Gunfire. Screaming. Bodies hitting dirt. Ray felt something punch through his shoulder. Hot. Burning. He kept moving. got Tasia to the ground, covered her with his body. More shots. Then silence. Ray's shoulder throbbed. Blood soaked his shirt. But he was breathing. Still breathing. Tasia, he croaked. I'm okay. Ray, you're bleeding. Don't move. Not yet. Wright's voice. Clear. All hostiles down. Get medical here now. Ray rolled off Tasia. Stared up at the stars. Same stars that had watched him find her in the desert. Same stars that didn't care. But he cared. And that made all the difference. Angela rushed over, dropped to her knees beside Tasia. Mother and daughter stared at each other. 7 years of grief and rage and love compressed into a single moment. Then they were holding each other, crying, saying nothing because words weren't big enough. Ray smiled, closed his eyes, let the pain wash over him. Medics arrived, hands pressed against his wound. Someone shouted about blood loss. Ray didn't care. He'd done what he set out to do. He'd mattered. Stay with me, old man. Tasia's voice. Close. Desperate. Don't you dare die on me. Not planning to, Ray mumbled. Too stubborn. They loaded him onto a stretcher. As they carried him toward the ambulance, he caught one last glimpse of the scene. Earl's body covered with a sheet. His men in handcuffs. FBI agents securing evidence. And Tasia, standing with her mother, both of them watching him. Both of them alive. Ray's eyes closed. But this time, sleep felt like rest instead of surrender. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and regret. Ray woke to fluorescent lights and the steady beep of machines. His shoulder screamed. He tried to move, gasped, stopped. Easy. Tasia's voice. She sat in the chair beside his bed, dark circles under her eyes. Doctor said you tore the stitches twice already. Ray's throat felt like sandpaper. How long? 3 days. You lost a lot of blood. She handed him water. Bullet missed the major arteries by an inch. Doctor called it lucky. Ray drank. Nothing felt lucky. Just expensive. Earl. Dead. Sharpshooters got him in the head and chest. Died before he hit the ground. Tasia's expression didn't change. No grief. No satisfaction. Just exhaustion. Webb's in custody. So are 6 county officials, 2 state senators, and Earl's entire legal team. Your mother? Tasia's face softened. She's here. Downstairs getting coffee. Hasn't left the hospital since they brought you in. Ray closed his eyes. Tried to process everything. Failed. The other kids from the ranch. Safe. All 14 placed in legitimate foster homes. Marcus got adopted by his math teacher. Destiny's living with her aunt in Nevada. Jerome. Tasia paused. Jerome's having a hard time. Nightmares. Panic attacks. But he's got counselors now. People who actually care. That's good. Yeah. Tasia pulled her legs onto the chair, wrapped her arms around her knees. Old habit. Leona's story went national. Congress opened an investigation into foster care fraud across 6 states. They found 43 other facilities running operations like Earl's. Shut them all down. Ray opened his eyes again. 43. Could be more. But it's a start. Tasia's voice cracked. All those kids. All those years. And nobody stopped it until you ran, Ray finished. Until you refused to stay quiet. Tasia wiped her eyes. Mom says I'm brave. But I don't feel brave. I feel angry. Like, why did it take 7 years? Why did all those kids have to suffer before anyone cared? Ray had no answer for that. Just the same questions he'd been asking since his wife died. Why did the system protect the powerful? Why did justice only work for people who could afford it? Why did doing the right thing require nearly dying? The door opened. Angela walked in, carrying 2 coffee cups. She still looked thin, still moved carefully, like someone expecting traps. But her eyes were clearer than in the photos. You're awake, she said. Good. I was starting to worry you'd sleep through your own medal ceremony. Ray blinked. What? Governor wants to give you and Tasia commendations. Public recognition for exposing corruption. Angela set the coffee down, sat on the edge of Ray's bed. Personally, I think it's damage control. Makes them look proactive instead of complicit. I don't want a medal. Neither does Tasia. But sometimes you take the win where you can get it. Angela studied his face. You saved my daughter's life. I can never repay that. Don't need repayment. Just needed to do something that mattered. Angela nodded. Leona told me about your wife. I'm sorry. Ray looked away. Long time ago. Doesn't make it hurt less. Angela stood, moved to the window. I was in that facility for 7 years. Drugged. Monitored. told I was crazy every time I tried to tell the truth. The only thing that kept me going was knowing Tasia was out there somewhere. That maybe she'd survived. That maybe she'd remember I didn't abandon her. Tasia's eyes filled with tears. I thought you left me. Earl said you didn't want me anymore. Never. Angela turned, fierce. Everything I did, the lawsuit, the investigation, all of it, was to make sure kids like you didn't get swallowed by a system designed to fail them. Earl knew that. So he made me disappear and took you as insurance. If I ever escaped, he'd hurt you. That's how he kept me quiet. How'd you get out? Ray asked. Nurse named Patricia. She saw me lucid one day, realized I wasn't actually sick, helped me fake symptoms so they'd move me to a less secure ward. Then she smuggled in my old files, my research, everything Earl thought he'd destroyed. I spent 2 years rebuilding the case from inside that place. And when I finally had enough evidence, Patricia helped me walk out the front door during a fire drill. Where'd you go? Everywhere. Nowhere. Kept moving. Kept gathering proof. Angela's jaw tightened. But I couldn't contact Tasia. Couldn't risk Earl finding out I was alive and hurting her because of it. So I waited. Watched from a distance. And when I saw her face on that video, saw her telling the truth I'd been too afraid to tell. She trailed off. Tasia stood, crossed to her mother. They held each other again. 7 years of separation compressed into a single embrace. Ray looked away, gave them privacy for something he'd never have again with his own wife. A knock rattled the door. Agent Wright walked in, carrying a thick folder. Sorry to interrupt, but we've got news. Everyone turned. Wright opened the folder. We excavated Earl's ranch. Found 9 bodies total. For kids who'd disappeared over the past decade. 3 adults, including a county auditor who'd been investigating Earl's finances. 1 still unidentified. She paused. We also found records. Earl documented everything. Names, dates, payments to officials. It's enough to prosecute 73 people across state and federal charges. Ray felt sick. 73. Earl didn't act alone. This was a network. Foster care facilities, labor contractors, placement agencies, all working together to traffic kids through the system and profit off their work. Earl was just the biggest fish. Wright looked at Tasia. Your testimony helped us unravel the whole thing. Every person involved is going to prison. Tasia's hands shook. What about the families? The kids who died? Victim Compensation Fund. Congress approved it yesterday. Not enough. Never enough. But it's something. Angela spoke up. What about the officials who enabled this? The judges who signed off on placements? The social workers who ignored abuse reports? Under investigation. Most will lose their licenses. Some will face criminal charges. Wright closed the folder. It's going to take years to sort through. But for the first time, people are actually paying attention. That's because of you too. Tasia and Angela looked at each other. Then at Ray. 3 broken people who'd somehow found each other in the wreckage. 6 months later, Ray stood on the steps of his trailer, watching the sun rise over the desert. His shoulders still ached when storms rolled in. Small price for being alive. A car pulled up, dust trailing behind it. Tasia climbed out, followed by Angela. They'd moved to Phoenix after the trials ended. Small apartment near Angela's new job at a legal aid clinic. Tasia was finishing high school, talking about college, about becoming a social worker herself. You're up early, Tasia said, climbing the steps. Couldn't sleep. Ray gestured toward the horizon. Forgot how loud quiet can be. Angela handed him coffee. Real coffee this time, not the instant stuff he'd survived on for years. We brought breakfast. Hope you're hungry. They went inside. The trailer looked different now. New windows. Fresh paint. Index cards still covered the table, but the Bible verses had company now. Photos. Tasia and Angela at her graduation. Marcus and his adopted family. Jerome smiling at a baseball game. Leona holding her Pulitzer. Life captured in snapshots. They ate in comfortable silence. Scrambled eggs. Toast. Orange juice that tasted like sunshine. Simple things that felt sacred after everything they'd survived. Trial verdicts came in yesterday, Angela said finally. Deputy Webb got 40 years. Senator Mitchell got 25. Earl's lawyers got disbarred and 15 years each. Ray nodded. Justice, delayed but delivered. What about the placement agencies? Shut down. All of them. New oversight committees established. Federal monitoring required for any facility receiving state funding. Angela paused. Won't fix everything, but it's a start. Tasia pushed eggs around her plate. I got a letter yesterday from one of the kids at Earl's ranch. She's doing better now, has a real family. Says she thinks about us sometimes. About how we fought back. You fought back, Ray corrected. I just drove the getaway car. You did more than that. Tasia met his eyes. You showed me someone cared. That's everything. The words settled in Ray's chest. Heavy but warm. For 10 years, he'd carried grief like stones. Now something else lived there. Not happiness exactly. Something quieter. Peace, maybe. Or purpose. Angela stood, started clearing plates. We should get going soon. Tasia's got that interview with the documentary crew at 2. Another one? Ray asked. Last one, I promise. Tasia grimaced. They want to film where you found me. Show people the desert, the distance I ran. Make it real. It was real, Ray said quietly. Doesn't need a documentary to prove it. I know. But if it helps even one kid speak up, one adult pay attention. She shrugged. Worth it. Ray understood that. The interviews, the speeches, the constant reliving of trauma so others wouldn't have to experience it. Tasia had become a voice for the voiceless, and it was killing her slowly. You don't have to save everyone, he said. Neither do you. But you tried anyway. Tasia smiled. Guess we're both stubborn. They finished cleaning up. Angela checked her watch. We really should go. But Tasia hesitated at the door. Turned back. Ray, there's something I wanted to ask you. Shoot. Mom's opening a legal practice. Focusing on foster care cases, juvenile rights, system reform. She needs help. Someone who understands what these kids go through. Someone they'll trust. Tasia's voice grew softer. We were hoping you'd consider working with us. Ray blinked. I'm not a lawyer. No, but you're someone who cares. Someone who didn't look away when everyone else did. Angela stepped forward. We need an investigator. Someone to find the kids who slipped through the cracks. Document abuse. Build cases officials can't ignore. It doesn't pay much, but it matters. Ray looked around his trailer. At the desert beyond. He'd come here 10 years ago to disappear. To wait for death in silence. But life had other plans. His wife used to say something when they were young. Back when they believed fixing the world was possible. You can't save everyone. But you can save someone. And someone is always enough. She'd been right. When do I start? Ray asked. Tasia's face broke into a genuine smile. First one Ray had seen from her in months. Really? Really? But I'm keeping the trailer. Some days I'll need the quiet. Deal. Angela extended her hand. Ray shook it. Partnership sealed. They left together. Drove toward Phoenix through morning light that turned sand into gold. Ray watched the desert pass outside the window. Same landscape where he'd found Tasia bleeding and afraid. Same empty miles that had nearly swallowed them both. But nothing looked empty anymore. Just space waiting to be filled with second chances. Angela's phone rang. She answered, listened, hung up looking grim. That was Agent Wright. They identified the last body from Earl's property. Tasia tensed. Who? A girl named Rebecca Santos. Went missing from a facility in Nevada 5 years ago. She was 16. Silence filled the car. Another name. Another stolen life. Another family that would finally have answers, but never peace. There's more, Angela continued. Rebecca's mother has been searching for her since she disappeared. She wants to meet us. Thank us for exposing the truth. Ray's throat tightened. He knew that conversation. The one where you told someone their worst fear had come true, but at least now they knew. He'd had that conversation when the hospital admitted their mistake. When the lawyers confirmed his wife was gone because someone couldn't be bothered to check a dosage. We'll meet her, Tasia said. Tell her Rebecca mattered. That we won't forget. Angela nodded. Changed the subject. Talked about the practice, about cases they'd take, about kids they'd help. But Ray saw through it. Saw the weight pressing down on both of them. The knowledge that for every kid they saved, dozens more were suffering right now in systems designed to exploit them. You couldn't save everyone. But you had to try anyway. They reached Phoenix by afternoon. Angela dropped Ray at a hardware store to pick up supplies for the new office. He wandered the aisles, grabbing notepads and pens and file folders. Normal things for a life he'd never expected to have. At the register, a woman in front of him struggled with her card. The clerk looked annoyed. Ma'am, it's been declined 3 times. I just deposited my check yesterday. It should work. Well, it's not. You'll need to call your bank. The woman's hands shook as she gathered her items. Milk, bread, baby formula, essentials. Ray saw himself in her face. That same desperation when the lawsuit fees had drained his accounts. When he'd had to choose between eating and keeping the lights on. Here, Ray handed the clerk his card. Add her stuff to mine. The woman turned, eyes wide. I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything. I'm just buying groceries. Ray smiled. Pay it forward when you can. She stared at him, then nodded, tears streaming. Thank you. God bless you. Ray helped her carry bags to her car. An old sedan with a busted taillight and a baby seat in back. She drove away, horn honking twice in gratitude. The clerk bagged Ray's items. That was nice of you. It was necessary, Ray corrected. There's a difference. He drove to the office Angela had rented. Small space above a bodega. 2 rooms. Peeling paint. But the windows faced east, letting in morning light. Angela was inside already, setting up desks. Tasia painted walls a soft blue. What do you think? Angela asked. Ray set down his supplies. Looked around. It wasn't much. But neither was his trailer. Neither was the notebook where Tasia had first told her story. Small things could hold big truths. I think it's perfect, he said. They worked until evening. Hung pictures. Organized files. Set up a phone line for kids to call if they needed help. By the time they finished, the office looked real. Official. Like something that might actually make a difference. Angela locked up. They stood on the street, watching traffic pass. Normal people living normal lives. Most would never know how close the system had come to completely failing. How many kids had died before anyone noticed? How much evil could hide behind respectable facades? But Ray knew. Tasia knew. Angela knew. And they'd spend the rest of their lives making sure others knew too. First case starts Monday, Angela said. Boy in Tucson. Foster family suspected of medical neglect. County won't investigate because the family's connected to local officials. Sounds familiar, Ray muttered. Yeah, it always does. Angela looked tired, but determined. We'll need evidence. Testimony from the kid if he'll talk. Something solid enough that they can't ignore us. Ray nodded. I'll drive down tomorrow. Scout the situation. Be careful. If they're connected, they'll know someone's looking. Let them know. Ray's jaw set. I'm done being careful. Tasia laughed. You got shot 3 times the last time you said that. Once. I got shot once. And I'm still here. They said goodbye. Ray drove back toward his trailer, but stopped at a cemetery on the way. He'd been avoiding it for months. But tonight felt right. He walked through rows of headstones until he found hers. Sarah Cole, beloved wife. The stone said nothing about how she died. About the hospital's mistake. About the justice she never received. Ray knelt in the grass. Hey, it's been a while. The wind answered. Nothing else. I did something. Something that mattered. Saved a kid. Stopped some bad people. Not sure it makes up for not saving you. But it's something. He traced her name with his fingers. I miss you. Every day. But I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living. Think you'd be proud of that. He stayed until dark. Then drove home through desert night. Stars overhead. Headlights cutting through darkness. Same road where he'd found Tasia. Same emptiness that had almost claimed them both. But tonight, the desert didn't feel empty. Just quiet. And quiet, Ray had learned, wasn't the same as dead. Back at the trailer, he made coffee. Sat at the table. Pulled out a new index card. Thought for a moment. Then wrote, The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And so are the people brave enough to care. He pinned it to the wall beside the others. Then opened his notebook. Started planning for Monday's case. The boy in Tucson. The family with connections. The county that wouldn't listen. Ray smiled. They'd listen eventually. Everyone did once you made enough noise. His phone buzzed. Text from Tasia. Thanks for today. For everything. You gave me my life back. Ray typed a response. You gave me mine first. He sent it. Set the phone down. Looked around his trailer one last time before bed. It still wasn't much. Still cramped and hot, and too small for the life now unfolding inside it. But it was home. And home, Ray had finally learned, wasn't about the building. It was about the people you fought for. The causes that made getting up worthwhile. The tiny acts of resistance against a world that crushed the vulnerable without thought. Ray turned off the lights. Lay down. Closed his eyes. And for the first time in 10 years, sleep came without nightmares. Outside, the desert stretched forever under stars that had watched empires rise and fall. That had seen Earl Dunbar's operation built on stolen lives and watched it burn when one girl refused to stay silent. that had witnessed an old man find purpose in his last act and discovered it wasn't his last act at all. The stars didn't care. They never did. But the people beneath them cared. And sometimes, in a world that seemed designed to break hope, caring was the most revolutionary thing you could do. Ray Cole had learned that. Tasia Monroe had proven it. Angela Monroe had survived it. And together, they'd make sure the next kid who needed help wouldn't have to run into the desert and pray someone decent found them. Because someone would be looking, someone would care, someone would fight, and maybe that someone would be enough.